Hello, my little babies. Welcome back to another episode of What the Smut Book Reviews. Now, as you can see from my setup behind me, it's a hot mess. We're going to excuse it because we're still trying to figure out what we're doing with this set. As you can see, my backdrop behind me is for my regular, normal book review series, right? However, in this one, this will be the inaugural episode of a new segment that we are going to create on this channel, and it is called Book Drama and Instant Karma. If you are a member of the book community, if you have been a member of the book community for a really long time, you will know that we have been through many different social media apps, some better than others, but in each one, we have had our own community, our own little corner of that app where we can discuss book-related stuff. I've decided to record this video on TikTok because it allows me a filter, which obviously, as you can see, is the most barest of filters. I don't look like I have on any makeup, but it does smooth out my skin, which makes me look less like the Crypt Keeper. And so it keeps me from having to put on a full face of makeup, which thank you, baby Jesus, because I just can't. I don't have the energy. I don't have the willpower. I don't have the motivation. I don't have the mental health capacity to do anything, much less put on makeup. So we're just gonna talk through that and ignore it, okay? Just ignore it. Life happens. That's life. So in this new segment, which I am going to attempt to do on a weekly or at least bi-weekly basis, because every single day there is new drama in the book community. Somebody has something to say about something. Somebody's getting into it with somebody else. Somebody's become problematic that wasn't problematic yesterday. It happens, right? We've seen it. Tale as old as time, right? Okay, so what I'm going to attempt to do in this segment is I am going to essentially compile a handful of today's tea. And when I say today, I mean for the last week or two. Maybe slightly longer, since this is the first episode. I'm covering some issues that may be a little bit older than a week or two. Most of them you've probably heard of, some of them you may not have heard of. Some of these are going to be me nitpicking and giving my opinion on stuff. So if you're not here for that, tune out. What gives me the right to do so? Well, I have eyes and I can read. I'm literate. I'm a literate human being. And you, the person whose screenshot I will inevitably show, decided to put this on a public forum because you thought either somebody wanted this opinion or you thought that it was good to air all your dirty laundry, and maybe it was cathartic for you, and that's great, and I love that for you. But unfortunately, you shared it with us, and so now it's fodder for conversation. So here we are. Now, I'm going to touch on some things, and I'm going to go in order. And these are not all the book dramas. This is not all the conspiracies. This is not all of the nitpicky bullshit that happens on Instagram and Book Talk and Threads, which the majority of these screenshots are pulled from Threads because it's a cesspool, okay? I get what they were trying to do, but when Twitter has been reviled as being a toxic platform, what would make you think that Twitter 2.0 was a good idea? Does Meta own Twitter? It's not even called Twitter anymore. It's called X, right? But does Meta own X? I know Elon owns it, that fucker. But does he own Meta? No, maybe. Mark Zuckerberg still owns Meta, right? Anyway, it doesn't matter. What would make them think that taking a toxic platform like X and then recreating it was a good idea. Spoiler alert, it wasn't. Threads, I don't know why people have this misassumption that if they post something on Threads, it's almost as if it doesn't exist. It's almost as if they post it, it goes out into the stratosphere somewhere, and then it just disappears. And so it's perfectly fine for you to say the most disgusting, vile, repulsive things on Threads. And later on, it's just fine because it's gone. And you know what this is? The problem here is we are currently living in what has been dubbed the 48-hour generation. And it means that in 48 hours, we're all going to conveniently forget that this happened because we've moved on to something else. And if you think about it, that's fucking sad. Some of these things need to be remembered in order to learn a lesson from them. Many people don't do that. Like they don't understand that there are steps in that process. And they just skip straight ahead to what's the new tea? Because listen, I like tea as much as the next person, right? I love hot goss. I don't like being involved in goss, but I love hot goss. So obviously I keep my eyes and ears, right? But there's a difference between witnessing drama and watching it unfold, even if you're holding a bucket of popcorn, and actively fueling negativity and hate just for the sake of perpetuating a cycle. That I don't like. So in this segment, what we're going to try and focus on is I'm going to present you with information, and this is going to be information that you may know, information you may not know. I leave it up to you to do your own research. Don't just take my word for it, please. Even though I will try my best to be accurate in the information that I share, still do your own research. Go to Threads, look for the hashtags, look for the author in question, look for sub quotes and blah, 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 right? And do your own research and figure out what actually happened. And if it differs from something that I have posted, please, by all means, come to my comments section here and tell me. But, and I'm going to put a disclaimer on this, because let's be honest, there's just so much cunty behavior in the book community that I'm letting you know that if you want to come to my comments section with updated information or something that maybe I got incorrect, that you want to say, hey, it actually happened this way. If you have screenshots to back that up, please DM me. All of my social medias will be posted below. Please DM me. You can remain perfectly anonymous. However, if you come into my comments section here with just a whole bunch of nasty hate, I will immediately delete the comment. For my own mental health, it will never be seen again. Okay? So the object of this segment is just to present you with this information, and you do with it what you will. I do not want to spread misinformation. I do not want to perpetuate a cycle of negativity. However, what I do want to do is inform you of drama and tea that's going on in the romance reading community, right? So in order to ensure quality over quantity, I will be providing screenshots that I have taken from multiple social media platforms, and those screenshots will serve as the proof in the pudding that this is actually a thing. Now, is there more backstory behind these screenshots? Absolutely. But again, that's for you to research on your own. Right now, I'm giving you the bare facts of this situation and making you aware that it exists. So, without further ado, let's get started, shall we? The first, I'm going to be looking down here a lot because I'm referencing stuff on my iPad. the screenshots, to be precise. So, the first one that I want to open with is probably the oldest, and one that I expect many people will not be surprised about, especially coming from me. Because if you have been a fan of my channel for any length of time, you will know that the author in question, I am not her biggest fan. I used to be a big fan. I'm no longer a fan in any shape, way, or form. In fact, I have openly posted my dislike. Of this author on every platform possible. So, the first author should come as no surprise that it is none other than Sophie Lark. If you're wondering what my beef is with Sophie Lark, you can go back several videos on this channel and you can see that I did a video where I explained the history I have with Sophie Lark, as well as my motivation behind why I no longer support her. Again, do your own research. I'm not going to rehash it here because I'm not trying to make this video 2 hours long, okay? But I want to say it was probably a few weeks ago. Sophie was on the verge of releasing the first book in a new series. This series is being produced, or in this case was being produced on a massive scale by Bloom Books. Bloom is a large publishing company, right? You've probably seen their covers in Walmart, Target, etc., etc. They sell them everywhere. And Bloom has a history of picking up authors that not only have problematic histories, but also have large sales. Let's be honest. And I get it. It's a business. And you're looking for those big names that are going to sell you books. So I totally understand. Do I wish it wasn't so? Sure. There are many authors that Bloom has shoved into my local Walmart that I know are trash. And yet I still have to see their books every time I go shopping. So it is what it is. So they had signed to release this book for Sophie, which was completed. It was finished and in the ARC reading stage, right? So this book went out to ARC readers, and one ARC reader in particular pointed out several problematic statements made by the main male character of the book. I think it was the main male character of the book. It was a prominent character. And the statements were geared toward very anti-migrant, what's the word I'm looking for? Very anti-immigrant statements, very stereotypical statements about immigrants. In this particular scenario, it would be immigrants who have come here illegally and were supposed to be like working under the radar and blah, 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 right? So the screenshot or the quote in question was, well, there were several of them that were pointed out. But the main one, well, there were two. There were two that people considered particularly problematic. The first one was the immigrant one. And it said, the quote taken from the book said, and I quote, "But shouldn't there be a crew of people with questionable work visas picking these grapes for us?" And then the second quote that people found problematic was one of the main characters saying, "I was inspired by Elon Musk. I use his 5-step design process." In the current climate of the United States of America, yes, I don't typically get political. And when I say I don't get political, I mean I don't discuss politics on any of my pages. I don't like doing it. I don't think that a lot of the people that follow me, that's what they're there for. It definitely wasn't what they were there for when they first decided to follow me. They followed me for book content. And so I try and stick to posting book content. However, there are a lot of people in the community who do use their platforms, their bookish platforms, to make their stances on certain issues known, whether it be immigration, gender identity, Republican versus Democrat, etc., right? So, to each their own. That's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. Those people were the people that went to Threads immediately after the initial post came out with this quote in it about the immigrants picking the grapes. They went to Threads and they posted about, this is a problem. How can you have this view of immigrants in our current political climate? And it blew up from there. Essentially, Sophie Lark got canceled in a big time kind of way. So her response to this hubbub that had been created, no offense, by her, this hubbub that had been created, this rolling down a hill giant shitstorm, was only made worse when she decided that it was a good idea to post an apology to her stories or to her author Instagram. It was a 3-part apology. There were 3 slides. I have them here, which I will post here and here. I will also make sure that I posted the screenshot of the quotes from the book. So here are the screenshots of her apology statement. Okay? You can read them, you can zoom in, you can do whatever. Do as you will. Her apology post went as follows. I want to start by saying how much I appreciate this community. Your passion, support, and willingness to engage in meaningful conversation have always meant the world to me. That's why it's so important for me to address something I got wrong. It has been brought to my attention that certain lines in Sparrow and Vine were hurtful. Reading your messages and hearing your perspectives over the past 24 hours, to be fair, I'm pretty sure it was going on for more than 24 hours, but okay, has been humbling. And I want to acknowledge the pain my words have caused. I am truly sorry. My intention was to craft and demonstrate a flawed main character, but instead I wrote dialogue that read as attacking to a community that I care very much about. During the editing process, and this was very important, and people grasped onto this part in particular with the sharpest of claws, because prior to this apology post coming out, Bloom was getting tagged in nearly everything being posted about Sophie Lark, because they wanted to know, how could you possibly miss these lines in this book and not tell her, not just zero in and go, that's not a propes. It's not PC, it's not a propes in this current climate. So they were getting a lot of flack. During the editing process, Bloom recommended removing these lines. And I made the wrong choice in keeping them. I now understand that impact matters more than intent, and I regret that my words caused harm. Please don't blame Bloom for my mistakes. AKA, Bloom was pissed off at you and threatening to pull your contracts and blah, 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 and you didn't want to lose your money. But sure, okay, I believe you. I wrote this back in the summer of 2024 because, you know, we were living in utopia in the summer of 2024. There was no such thing as racism. There was no such thing as political drama. People weren't actively being deported and what have you, or threats being made against people to be deported. It's not like there was, you know, a walking Cheeto who was saying, the minute I get into office, I'm gonna immediately just send everybody packing. You weren't born here? Packing. That wasn't happening in 2024. He wasn't saying that, right? And a lot has changed in the world since then. That part is true. Particularly in regard to the fate of immigrants worldwide and certain public figures. Some things I would write differently now, so that's exactly what I'm going to do. So she's going to take the lines out. Words mean nothing without action, so I'm pausing this book and this series for some rewrites to ensure that my work doesn't contribute to harm. You already did, though. I will also be listening more closely to our sensitivity readers and taking additional steps to educate myself on responsible storytelling. And that's another thing I want to bring up. When all of this was happening, the number of threads that I saw attacking her sensitivity readers and her beta readers, and even maybe if she had alpha readers, attacking them for letting this slip by was insane. And I just want to point out, as an author who has employed, and I say employed because I gave them free books, but who has brought on beta readers, sensitivity readers for both of my books to ensure that I wasn't portraying anything, especially a situation that I don't have firsthand knowledge of, like sexual assault, to make sure that I wasn't portraying that insensitively. And there were things that were pointed out, even in my books, where it was, I think this should be changed, or this isn't necessarily the reaction that I would have. And there were some that I changed and there were some that I kept, because I believe everybody's reaction to those situations can be different. However, this is not one of those times. There is a good chance that those lines were pointed out to her by her sensitivity readers, by her beta readers, the same way they were pointed out by her own admission, by Bloom, and she still chose to leave them in. So, please stop doing that. Please stop attacking beta and sensitivity readers for something that an author wrote that is problematic, because it doesn't necessarily equate to, oh, they missed it, or oh, they saw it and because it didn't bother them, they decided to say nothing. That's not always the case. So, shame. For shame, stop it. Okay? I will be listening more closely to our sensitivity readers and taking additional steps to educate myself on responsible storytelling. And to those who took the time to share their feedback, thank you. I don't think anyone on planet Earth believes that you thank us for blasting your ass on Threads. To those I have hurt, I am very sorry. I hope I can earn your trust back in the future. First of all, from me personally, not likely, bitch. For everybody else, I can't speak for y'all. If you want to, again, 48-hour generation. So a lot of you might. But for me, no. Mostly because I have other reasons, but also because this was pretty heinous, if we're being honest. So, you do you, boo. Now, this, I would take this apology with, first of all, me personally, I would take it with a boulder of salt. But I would take it with a grain of salt if I didn't have all the history I have with Sophie Lark. If I didn't have the history I have with Sophie Lark, I might buy some of this. However, that is until I managed to get a hold of a screenshot, this one, of someone in her closed Facebook group, which is called Love Larks, basically saying, I read the things, I don't see what the big deal is. People need to chill out. And her actively hearting the comment after she posted that apology to social media. Does that seem like someone who's contrite to you? Does it seem like someone who really means what they just said? No, I don't think so. So that's our Sophie Lark news of the day. The next person, or the next bit of tea that I'm going to discuss really quick, and I'm going to try and make it as quick as possible, is Tori Woods. Some of you may have heard about this situation. Some of you may have not heard about this situation. But there was an author who goes by the pen name Tori Woods, whose real name is something Ashley, I forget. I will put the screenshots here for you to see. Well, no, something Ashley was another pen name that she went under. Her real name, I will post here, this screenshot. So essentially this author, about a year ago, made a pen name and then decided that it was a good idea to plagiarize a whole bunch of work and pass it off as her own. She got caught. She got blasted. She disappeared from the internet. Okay? Then she came back as Tori Woods. New pen name. And the first order of business that she thought would be a good idea would be to write a book entitled Daddy's Little Toy. It's an age gap romance, obvs. However, the problem with this age gap romance is completely putting aside the fact that the blurb, the snippets, the everything about it, the cover design is cringe as fuck. Completely putting all of that aside. In the book, when it went, again, fully finished, fully edited, went to ARC readers, and the ARC readers couldn't get past like 20%. Many of them DNF'd even before that, because there's active mention of pedophilia in this book. So the main male character admits in the book that he has had eyes on the female main character, who is granted now turning 18, but he has been watching her in a sexual sense since she was 3 years old. And he specifically says something about that I shouldn't have been looking at this toddler. But then they still go on, obviously, to have a sexual relationship. Now, many of the ARC readers, which I will post some that were posted here on Goodreads, many of the ARC readers took big issue with this particular part of the book. And again, everything else about the book is cringe. The cover, which I will post here, and the blurb, which I will post here. You can zoom in. You can read it for yourself. But just quickly, I will read it for you. Dual POV, the female main character, her name is Lucy. I can't help myself when I'm around him. I wet my pants in excitement. At night, I use my unicorn Stuffy's horn on myself. All I think about while I'm being naughty is my dad's best friend and how I wish he could be my daddy. I'm the freak of the family. My dad is disappointed in me. My mom dismisses me. And my sister despises me. I'm delusional if I think Arthur, who's the main male character, would ever want to play with me. Arthur's POV. My juicy Lucy. Moment, please. She's finally 18. I've wanted her longer than I can ever legally admit. She doesn't know it yet, but she's going to be my perfect little toy, my precious little unicorn, and I'm going to be her daddy. When I see her playing dress-ups, I forget about the fact that she's my best friend's barely legal daughter, or that her mom hasn't protected and cherished her like she should. All I know is that she's meant to be my baby girl. Okay. Now, the whole daddy-little relationship kink is a thing. We don't kink shame here, right? If that's your thing and you like the daddy kink, fine. I personally am not a fan. But I think there's a very distinct difference between daddy kink or daddy little play, and that. And maybe it's just the cringe of my Juicy Lucy that I can't get past. But 0 stars on Goodreads. I got an ARC, but my rating/review is my own. I had to DNF. I think 23% was a good amount for me to review. This book has one problem. It should be on the trigger warnings. It has pedophilia. The main male character started noticing the female character when she was 3. I'm sorry, 3? In quotes, wanting a woman as sweet as my friend's toddler daughter, Lucy, who was 3 at the time. End quote. I'm not even going to read the next part because it's vile. It's even more vile, if you can imagine. But I will post a screenshot. I believe I just did, but I'll post it again here of this review. There were many reviews like that. She also then went to her stories after the fact, and she put up what she thought was, I guess, her version of an apology. However, all it did was essentially her double down on how everyone had misconstrued the situation of this relationship and how there was no pedophilia and nothing untowards. What? No, you just misunderstood me. No, baby, we didn't. You're gross. Okay? Then it came to light that Tori Woods was actually this other pen-named author who had plagiarized and stolen somebody else's work. Then she puts out a thing on her stories basically saying I'm disappearing from the internet. Do we believe that? No. I don't think so. She'll be back with a new pen name. And will she fly under the radar? Maybe. If she's smart enough not to do some dumb shit like this again. She probably will. But as they say, the truth will out. And eventually it will. What's the next thing? I'm running out of time. The next thing that I want to quickly touch on is this post that I saw on Instagram. I don't know this author. Obviously, if I'm seeing it, I follow her. But we've never communicated. I've never seen any. I've probably seen her posts. I don't know if I've reacted to them or if I've hearted them. We've never actually spoken. But when I saw this post, it seemed very genuine. It seemed very heartfelt. And it was very in-depth, her post. And it involved someone actively plagiarizing full book and passing it off as their own. Her full book. And passing it off as their own. Now, this came from an author named... Where am I? I'm going to botch the first name. I know I am. Is it Zai Taylor? But anyway, I'll put the screenshots here for you to see. And you can read through them and you can garner your own opinion on this particular issue. Because if these are accurate and this author is doing this other author super dirty and stealing her whole ass book, then she needs to be brought down. Because plagiarism of little bits and pieces is one thing. It's bad enough. But to take an entire book and say it's yours? Bitch, are you crazy? I swear to God, I think some people don't think the book community is intelligent in any shape, way, or form. Because if you can do something like that and think that you're actually going to get away with it, you either think there's something wrong with us or there's something wrong with you. Spoiler alert, there's something wrong with you. Because we're going to catch it. We're like spies. We'll figure it out. Now, the next thing that I'm going to touch on is this little bit of drama that I saw on Threads. And I am posting full screenshots with usernames. This is not to target anyone in particular, but I'll reiterate what I said at the beginning of my video. If you posted this to a public forum, you can't be mad when you experience backlash. And you can't be mad if someone calls you out on your misbehavior. because some of the shit you'll post is so misbehaved. So much misbehavior. Okay? And I'm asking y'all to just calm down. Okay? Please. Because my brain can't take it. Now, this is something I saw from, I don't follow this person. They just showed up in my For You feed. Because algorithm. Anyway. And this is an author by the name of Kenna Bell Ray. Her username, which I will show the screenshot here. And this is essentially her beef with another, I don't think it's an author, I think it's just a reader, who is essentially saying like, oh, your book was a direct ripoff of this other book. She has a shit ton of like attestations from other readers going, nah, that ain't the case. But even if it was the case, and it was something to the effect of, hey, your book sounds a lot like this other book, I'm going to remind people, tropes cannot be plagiarized. If I in my book have a main male character who wears a mask, I can't then sue every other person whose main male character wears a mask. That's not how it works. If my main male character has stalker tendencies and then you write a book about a stalker, I can't sue you for that. I can't even claim that you stole that from me. These tropes, micro tropes, all of these things have been done over and over and over. I was going to say for billions of years. Obviously that's not true. But for a long time. None of this is new. The only thing that makes your book, if you're an author, different from another person's book who wrote a similar trope or even the exact same trope is the surrounding details, your differentiating characteristics, and the plot. The rest of the plot. If you do it well, no one's going to give a shit how many other books have that same trope in it. They're going to sit back and they're going to go, that one is my favorite. And the implication that one particular author, and I'm looking at you, H.D. Carlton, can coin a specific phrase that's been used countless times before, or that you can imply that someone has stolen a trope from you that has been used countless times before, is ludicrous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And it goes to show how narcissistic some people are. For example, several weeks, maybe some months back, H.G. Carlton went on Threads and she posted a thread outing another author who used the phrase, "If I catch you, I fuck you." In her post, she said, if you're going to use my phrase, at least credit me. Ma'am, you didn't invent that sentence. Did it become popular along with your other sentences in your particular book that went viral? Yes. Did you invent it? No. But again, it just goes to show how narcissistic some people think they are. Or in this case, how narcissistic some people are. That you actually think you made that up? Ma'am, I can name 20 Primal Play books that use that line before yours. Please don't make me do research, but I will. Because it's ridiculous. Okay? So this particular author is being told your book is just like Haunting Adeline. It's a ripoff of Haunting Adeline. And obviously the author's like, no. And all of these readers have said that that's completely ridiculous. And so they went back and forth on Threads, which I love seeing shit like that because it's entertaining, isn't it? But bringing to light that situation, mostly for the benefit of saying, hey, what is your name? Jenna Holla 75. Please stop. Please stop. Let people live. Let people do what they want to do. If you read the book and it wasn't your cup of tea for whatever reason, just don't read. Just don't promote it. Don't recommend it. You got a thing against that author. You don't like them for whatever reason. Don't talk about them. It's really that simple. Mind your own goddamn business. But don't be going to threads, starting a whole bunch of drama, making accusations, slandering people, doing all these things. I would have an attorney on retainer. Anyways. So there was that. And then there was another author by the name of, I'm assuming it's Mary Amalam. I don't know why when I hear that I just want to go Remelima Ding Dong. I'm probably butchering that last name. Again, I'm an ignorant white American. I'm doing my best, okay? But she posted, and I will show the screenshots here, something that was disgusting, put a bad taste in my mouth. And if I was an ARC reader working with this author, I would have read this and then shit the bed. Because it's just the entitlement and the mean girl behavior is just so gross. It's so gross it would have made me physically sick and I would have shit the bed. ARC readers, listen up, in all caps. And then she put the stupid like siren emoji. First of all, hunty, if I read a post and it starts with any version of listen up, I promise you I checked out 2 words ago. At the beginning. I was already checked out. I pre-checked out. Did that shit online. Checked out. Didn't even have to go to the front desk. Checked out. You are not allowed to use or repost my content for ARC reviews. AKA her promotional material that she created. Like her teasers, her whatever. Don't do that. You need to create one for the ARC review as it was mentioned in the email. I'm not even going to point out that that's red flag behavior automatically. If I'm applying for an ARC and it says in there that I have to create my own graphics and I can't use low quality things and it's this, that, and the third, and there's all these logistical shits that hoops I have to jump through in order to post an ARC review for a book that I'm literally reading for free. Red flag. I don't want to read your book anymore. I'm out. Sorry. Sorry, not sorry. Additionally, I won't accept any collaboration posts that has bad quality. My reposted Instagram and Threads content for the ARC review, and the post that has no reviews and just an update that you finished reading it. I want your reviews, honey, not updates. The condescension. Don't mind my words. I won't compromise with rules and regulations. First of all, these are rules and regulations you put into place. This is not an actual law. This is not something that people actually have to follow. Would you like them to? Sure. Is it irrational? Absolutely. And then in all caps, thank you. So that's going up there. She also posted it to her Instagram stories here. This is the screenshot of her profile that I took. And I just think that if you're an indie author, there's a good chance, unless you're one of these like H.D. Carltons out here that has a humongous following because your books went viral on TikTok, you probably don't have a huge following. You're probably not making bank off your books. Nobody makes bank off their books. Indie authors are perpetually broke. Okay? You would think you would be grateful for any kind of promotion, any kind of review where someone says, I read this book and I liked it. Even if it literally just said, I read this book and I liked it. Give it to me. I'll take it. I don't care if the graphic you made is low quality. I don't care if you used one of my own graphics to post your thing. I don't care. You gave me a good review. I'm thankful. The end. Where do you get the audacity? Ma'am, first of all, who even are you? Never even heard of you. A lot of people haven't heard of me either, but that's why I don't go out here behaving like this. Because then people will hear about me, and not in a way I would like. Anyway, so that was a worth mentioning. Then, a few other things, and I'm going to try again and make this brief because I've been talking for like an hour. I said I wasn't going to do an hour-long video. Here we are 40 minutes later. This one involves Saffron Kent. Saffron Kent is a very popular author. Now, this is not a bash at Saffron in any shape, way, or form. She was essentially tagged, or she saw a post. I don't know if she was actually tagged, but she saw a post that someone put up complaining about the price of an ebook, one of her ebooks. The ebook in question was priced out at $11.99. And they were saying, hey, that's really expensive for an ebook. Do I think $11.99 is pricey for an ebook? Yes. In Saffron's response, which she publicly posted on Threads, screenshotting the post that she had received or that she saw, she did state that $11.99 for an ebook is like fair market value. I don't know if that's accurate. I have no idea. If I'm not mistaken, a lot of her books are, or at least some of her books, may be traditionally published. So maybe she is talking about a publisher's price of $11.99 being set, and it wasn't her decision. Maybe it was her decision. I know for KDP authors, I set my own price for my ebooks. Do I actually make any money off those ebooks? Probably not. Like, no, I don't, to be honest. I make pennies. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to price gouge my readers either. So, do I think $11.99 is expensive for an ebook? As a reader, yes, I do. I think what may have pushed Saffron over the edge, if she had just seen that part, maybe she would have just ignored it. But I think what pushed Saffron over the edge was the person going on to say something to the effect of, your books haven't really been that good lately anyway. And if that's the case, then yes, that's cunty behavior, and you deserve to get blasted for that, ma'am. So that was worth mentioning, which I saw, which was pretty amusing. Now, another thing that people are up in arms about in the book community, Allie Hazelwood is a very popular traditionally published author. Started out as an indie author. I don't know if she still publishes any books as an indie author or if they're all traditionally published at this point, but she is in pretty much every store. You know who Allie Hazelwood is. Love Theoretically, or Hypo whateverly, you know what I'm talking about, those books. So she had a world tour scheduled. She canceled it because of the current political climate. She is not from the US, and she is afraid that if she leaves, she will have a problem coming back, getting back into the country. It's a very legitimate fear in our current climate. When you're watching promo videos that have been made by our government, essentially showing ICE shaving people's heads like they're in a fucking concentration camp before they put them on a plane and ship them off to another country, you can completely understand, if you're a rationally thinking human being, you can completely understand why she would be worried about the prospect that she might not be allowed back in the country, or that she might have an issue getting back into the country. People in the reading community went apeshit. Like, raking her across the coals because of this decision. At the end of the day, authors are human beings. They have to do what's best for them. They have lives to live that don't include you, and real life problems that don't include you as a reader. And sometimes they have to make hard choices that might affect you. But if the main focus is not you, calm down. If there's a bigger issue at work here, calm down. So she's gotten so much flack for this decision. It's insanity. Anyway, this is just a random post I ran across explaining the situation. I'm not outing this person, this poster. Obviously, you'll see their username and their whatever, but I'm not disparaging them in any way for what they posted. This is just informative. So that's why I'm posting it. Now, an honorable mention, okay? I've seen several posts that talks about men in the romance reader space. Not only as readers, but as authors. Many romance readers cannot fathom the idea of a man writing a romance novel. I'm not going to point out that novelists like Nicholas Sparks has been doing it for ages. It's just not the smuttiest shit you've ever read in your life that we find in the dark corners of Bookstagram. But at the end of the day, they are romance novels. He's wildly popular, Nicholas Sparks. Does he wound me and kill off main characters in every single book? Yes. Do I hate him for it? Yes. But that's a whole different conversation. But I've seen several posts. Here's an example. And again, this is not being brought out to blast this person in any way. This is just for informational purposes that posts like this exist. And yes, at the end of the day, it is 100% your prerogative if you don't want to read a romance novel written by a man. Okay? But when our current climate, especially if you're on the right side of things and you want equality and you want inclusivity and you want equal rights, that has to be across the board. That you can't just go, this doesn't include the gays and theys. If a gay or a they write it, then I'll read it. But if a heterosexual man writes it, gross. There's a disconnect between those two things, in my opinion. So, again, this is just one example, but I have seen many posts. There is one particular voice narrator who narrates audiobooks, spicy audiobooks. He's a man. And he has recently published at least 2 that I know of, what I dub romantic horror or horror romance. And it's the more gruesome side of romance, right? But it still falls under the romance umbrella. And he's gotten a lot of popularity off of those books. And a lot of women that I know read those books and they enjoyed them. And so I think the statement of saying men should not be allowed to write romance novels, I personally don't agree with that. If a book is well written and it's good, I don't give a shit what your gender is. I don't care what you identify as. I will read it. I will enjoy it. I will promote it. It doesn't matter. Right? Isn't that the way it's supposed to be? Just my opinion. Now, going back to the whole expensive arc thing, there was also one that I think is an honorable mention that I will put right here. And it was essentially a person wanting to know, a reader, wanting to know if it was normal for them to be charged money to arc read a book. Like they had to pay the author for the physical arc or the digital arc. if they wanted to arc read the book and review it. For the record, baby, no, that's not normal. And the author that did that to you, which I don't think she named and shamed, but the author that did that to you is an outlier, and don't trust that kind of behavior. Because yes, as I previously mentioned, indie authors are perpetually broke. But we don't do that. It should not be done. It's gross. Don't trust it. Okay? I think that pretty much wraps up everything I wanted to talk about this week. I will be back either next week or the week after with some more tea. No shade, just tea. And hopefully I will get out of my current reading slump and I'll be back with more actual book reviews. But in the meantime, be on your best behavior. Okay, kiddos? I love you so much, and I'll see you later. Bye. This will be the inaugural. For those of you wondering, Freckles is alive and well. Picking, you know, the most inopportune moment to get up here and decide he's thirsty. So please bear with. Why do you hate me? Anyway, okay. We've already wasted 2 minutes and change. And I don't want this video to be more than like 15, 20 minutes. Many readers cannot fathom? No.